Hey everyone, what's going on? Jamie Laszlo here, and welcome to another edition of The Review Crew. We are the Review Crew, and we got a special review crew today, a special theme. But first, let's see who is in the building. Rick Labonte, what's going on? How you doing? And Rick,
Doing very well, my friend.
thank you
Thank you.
for the shirts. Rick sent us some shirts.
Mm,
He's online, can't you, Rick?
yes,
Oh,
sir.
nice.
That one's for
Nice.
me, and the one with the dreamy, sexy picture of Rick is for my wife. I get all the guys. We got Ryan Scow in the house. What's up, Ryan?
What's going on?
Nick Franco, how you doing? Retired Nick Franco, how you
Good
doing?
morning.
Scott Barry, what's going on? Count Ralphus,
Doing good.
welcome back to the review crew. And
Good
look
morning.
out on the fucking review crew, Lewis Nasser. Lewis is
Hey,
is
what's
a
going on?
so it's always great that it's great this one time that we got him in. Hopefully he comes back after this one.
Well, it's a pleasure, and I'm honored to be invited. It's been a crazy period of time for me, but here I am.
Great.
Right on. Thank you for making yourself available.
Well, like I said, we got Karen LaPreciosa coming. She's going to be a little late though, so we'll slip her into the show. We got a special We Are the Review Crew episode today. We are bringing back album homework assignment. It's the album homework assignment edition. You may remember, oh, I don't know, when was the last time we did that? About 2 years ago. It ran for about a year, but it was tough to get everyone to do their homework assignment and get people paired up, so it kind of just dwindled away. And we always thought, how can we bring it back? Not weekly, but bring it back every once in a while. I thought, why not use the review crew as the vessel to bring it back? So here we are. Everybody here gave someone else an album to listen to, an album they haven't heard before. And they are going to give a quick review on that album. And everyone, it's not a Secret Santa or everything or anything like that. Everyone knows who gave them the album right when they got it. So I made a wheel. So this is the order. Jamie gave to Karen, Karen gave to Lewis, Lewis gave to Nick, Nick gave to Scott, Scott gave to Ryan, Ryan gave to Rick, Rick gave to Ralph, Ralph gave to me. So, of course, who's supposed to go first? Karen. She's brushing her teeth and getting ready for the show. But we'll fly by her and come back to her because we got a whole presentation here. She was supposed to go first, and there she is at her desk doing her homework, but instead she is doing her makeup. So she will come back and we will move. We're not going to go in order of how I see everybody. We're going to go in order of the wheel here. So Karen, she got an album from me. We'll see what album that is and hear her thoughts on it when she gets here. In the meantime, Karen gave to Lewis. Should I wait
That's
till
right.
Lewis? So Karen is here while Lewis does his. So we got to skip two people now, Karen. Oh, you're fucking everything up. Oh, Karen. All right. So, Lewis, there you are doing your homework. We're going to come back to you when Karen's here.
All right.
Nick, you're in the circle.
Okay.
All right, there you are in the center. Yeah. So,
Look at
what did
me.
Lewis give you?
He gave me the latest Opeth album,
Oh, wow.
Last Will and Testament. And I don't know if he knows, probably is aware that I'm not an Opeth fan.
Yeah.
And are we going into it now? I just talk about it now.
Whoa, into it. Yeah.
All right, I'm
Go
on the
for it,
desk.
buddy.
I'm in the
Yeah.
middle
You're
desk.
on the point here. You're on point.
Yeah.
By the way,
So
before you start, I just wanted to say,
yeah.
Nick and Ryan are both responsible for me getting into lots of new, for me, really heavy bands that I absolutely fucking love. So I respect these guys a lot, and because I knew that he wasn't into Opeth, I thought, well, let's see what he thinks about this one, right? Just because I happen to really enjoy it, I didn't want to hear him talk about it because I knew if he liked it, that'd be great, but if he hated it, it was going to be very entertaining. So it's awesome.
I think he's going to hate it, but let's find out.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm curious too.
Well, for all my being, humorous on here and being very open about it when I don't like something, I will always respond with when it comes to a band like Opeth and a guy like Mikael Åkerfeldt, this this band was part of that fabric of everything I discovered about European metal in the mid 90s. Every compilation, I think they were on Nuclear Blast or Century Media back in the day with Orchid
think
and like all
Century
those
Media
songs.
is the
Century,
ones.
right?
Yeah.
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 I had my Arms Your Hearse back in the day. Um, and I didn't I tremendously respect the people who made this album. So I didn't go into it like, oh, wow, open. I just I have this thing where, and this is a me thing, I like a certain type of straightforwardness in my music, most of it. But I do have dalliances with more, proggy type complex metal. So, I was, and I actually haven't given an Opeth album the true time of day in a long time. So I was actually, like looking forward to getting into it. Um, it was a bit to sit there and listen to the whole thing for me was a little bit of a chore, but kind of in the way sitting through a differential calculus class would be a chore. And it's not because the material is bad. It's because I'm probably just it's not getting through into me. But I will say that this album had a ton of sections that were quite good and quite compelling. So I'll go with like the pluses. Well, first of all, Ian Anderson showing up on anything is pretty much I was saying I was explaining this to somebody who's not doesn't know Opeth from anything but knows classic rock, and I said, if you're a band and you've been struggling since you were in your 20s and you come up liking a certain type of prog rock but also death metal, and you get to a point in your career where like Ian Anderson is like, yeah, I'm gonna play on your album. Like I think it doesn't matter what you pretty much made it. Like that's incredibly impressive that they got that. So it is a very impressive album. The I found that like right away the first track reminds me of it's conveniently they named it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and it's a concept album about somebody's life, their will, I guess, their ability
Yeah.
to, deal
Those
with
are the parts of the will that
the
you
parts of
saw.
the will, exactly. So,
Paragraph 1, paragraph 2.
paragraph, right? That's that little exactly. So, the first one really reminded me of like modern day enslaved meets like Devin Townsend. I felt that type of thing from which is cool. But then like the second track has starts out with some snarl and then it gets very jazzy and like very like lilts away into like the atmosphere changes and everything like that. Um, I found that the down like the sixth track to remind me a lot of like Dream Theater and stuff like that. Reminded me of something on Images and Words, and of course the album ends with this beautiful ballad, which was ironically someone like myself who's into like all kinds of super heavy shit. I found that to be the most enjoyable song on it, A Story Never Told. Um, Now, Luis, that is Mikhail's voice on all the clean
Yes.
parts. Yeah, he's quite a singer. I didn't realize how good of a singer he's become. I know they switched to like clean vocals and stuff like that. You're listening to this album and the bass player Mendez, this guy and the drummer Varanin, whatever,
Yeah,
Walter.
he's brand new to the
He's
fold.
brand new. Where'd they get this kid and all of his arms?
I have no idea, but he is a kid. He's way younger than the rest of them, and he's
Unreal.
incredible. I mean that drumming is a masterclass in
Yeah.
that album.
And to have a young guy like that, right? And then you have Ian Anderson pop up, and they're probably in their late 40s, early 50s. Like it's very cool. I'm able to look at like the overall positivity of something like this. Like I hope kids are listening to this. Like I hope that and I think they are. The numbers that they draw seem to be pretty high. Um, I would much rather kids get into this than some of the other more like gimmicky bullshit out there. But in the end of the day, for me, like I wouldn't listen to this every day. And when I did listen to it, I was listening to it in the sense of like, holy shit, these guys are listen to how they play. Like the third track, you just the drums, like I'm like, how the fuck does this guy even keep time? Like, how do you, do that like that? So I'm wildly impressed with it, but it's not for me. It's like a luxury car, like or a sports car. Like, they're both amazing. They both do different things. Maybe one guy likes the sports car better. Maybe another guy I'd rather have the luxury. It's really just a matter of taste preference. Um, I like more direct. Um, I like the music to go in a more simplistic direction while being proggy. Like, I guess an example I could think of would be, I do listen to Devin Townsend, and he can depart like that. And even like Iron Maiden, like when they were like at their proggiest in the 80s, think about a song like To Tame a Land or something like that. Like they're so like all over the place, but it has that like epic heavy metal thing that keeps it going. So I don't know if any of this makes sense, but
It
that's
makes
like,
perfect sense to me. I mean,
yeah,
Ackerfeld himself said that when he was writing this album, he was surprised by how much he kept shifting in styles and things.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's exactly what you're describing is what he thinks of it. It was a way for him to keep himself interested.
right.
And I just thought, yeah, I need to throw that at you because I wanted to hear what you thought about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think that people should always, check out things that are outside their typical zone, if for no other reason to reinforce what they already feel, or but to just see what's going on. And yeah, I mean, are we supposed to give it a solid rating or?
You can do whatever you want. I don't give a shit.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, I mean, the execution of the album is like a 10 out of 10. The results of it for me, are much more in the middle because again, it's not my particular taste structure, but these guys are incredible musicians. Holy shit. And there are many sections in many of the songs that all of a sudden it's like, oh man, I feel that. That like a lot of them, oh yeah, I'm into this. Like there's the guitar solo that happens after Ian Anderson's spot is just
Yeah.
beautiful, mesmerizing. But then honestly, then I find my mind wandering
Yeah.
sometimes with it. So like, but how much of that is because I'm just not, it's my head, But I'm glad you gave it to me. It was very interesting.
All right, cool. Yeah, there's a lot of bands and artists that I respect that I don't really like.
Yeah.
That could be a whole show on its own. So, Devin Townsend, I respect him. I'm not a big fan.
Nice.
All right. So, Nick, you gave to Scott. I'm interested to see what Scott received.
All right.
Nice.
Well, we'll find that out in a moment, there. That is what he got for me. Let me just start by saying it's just a privilege and a pleasure to do the show. I'm sorry, Jamie, did you need to say something?
Yeah, I forgot to go to your picture there.
It's just a pleasure and a privilege to do the show with all of you. I've been watching you all on the channel for some time now. Some of you for close to 5 years, believe it or not. And I've gotten to know what you like, what you hate, your different personalities. And sometimes there are moments that stand out. Lewis naming his least favorite prog albums on a hospital bed with a bandage on his head in an episode of Prog Seat comes to mind. And when I saw who was going to be on this episode, besides thinking it was a pretty good group, I noticed there were three guys that were into really extreme metal. And so there was a pretty good chance I was going to be assigned something that was going to make blood gush out of my ears, right? So I do like a fair amount of metal, but I tend to lean mostly toward old school stuff: Sabbath, Maiden, Priest, Motorhead, Dio, early Metallica. But in the last few years, I have expanded my palette a bit since I started watching SOT and participating in the channel and taking on Opeth, Blood Meridian, other bands with some more extreme metal leanings. But when I saw that Nick would be picking my album, I remembered a quote from him on HVS, and maybe I'm paraphrasing. I'm not sure if I got this exactly right, Nick, but you said something along the lines of, I like music that sounds like two trains crashing together. Sound familiar?
That is, yes, guilty.
Something to that effect. It stuck with me, and that just kind of gives you an idea where Nick's head's at musically, right? And I also remembered he often talks about a lot of obscure black and death metal bands from the Scandinavian countries up in the Arctic Circle, where it's cold and dark for much of the year. Scary stuff, right? Bands with hard to pronounce names and even harder to read logos, right? Uh, might not have been my thing, but it's always interesting. The same applies, I would say, to everyone else here. You always pique my interest. Even when you talk about something I don't know about or I don't like, you always keep me interested, and that's a cool thing. So the album Nick chose for me, let me see if I can pull it up here. See if you can see that. That is the Sham Mirrors by Norwegian black metal band Arcturus. Not hard to pronounce at all, really. Off to a good start, right? They seem to be classified mostly as black metal, but to my ears, at least on this album, this sounds more prog metal, and with maybe some black and death metal leanings in it. And I suspect this album may have been a departure from the usual fare, at least at the time it was released. And it starts off in great form with kinetic, awesome riffing, nice layering with the keyboards, giving it a bit of a creepy effect. Vocals by Christopher Rigg, who goes by the name Garm. His vocals are melodic and clean with a strong vocal range. The song comes on fast and strong, but finishes with some beautiful piano. And I noticed that's a theme throughout the album. They kind of, they kick your ass, and then they bring in some of these more melodic elements. I like that. I kind of like the up and down with it. Nightmare Heaven comes on strong with this in-your-face guitar that just kicks your ass up on your shoulders. An instrumental passage on this one with some atmospheric keyboards by Spurred Johnson. And I don't always like keyboards in my metal, but I think they work very well here. Ad Absurdum keeps up the rapid pace, chugging right along. More creepy keyboards, including synths, organ, piano. Like that one. Collapse Generation starts with very rapid, almost apocalyptic sounding drum beats from drummer Jan Axel, who goes by the name Hellhammer. I love that. The organ and drums really dominate on this track, I would say. It sounds like it could have been on a horror movie soundtrack, and that's a good thing. Then we come to Star-Crossed. This may be my favorite track on the album, or it's one of the top two anyway. It begins with that beautiful piano. I think it's a waltz, seems in terms of a time signature. Very dark sounding. And about a minute and a half in, the guitar breaks in and the pace really picks up along with the intensity. Vocals are great. I have this thing about songs that start slowly or softly, but then they sort of gradually build in intensity. I really love that. This one really scratches that itch. And then we come to the heaviest, most intense song, Radical Cut. And it just starts at 100 miles per hour, and it pretty much maintains that pace throughout the song. Death Growls by correct me if I'm not pronouncing his name right, Isam.
Yes, he's famously the singer of Mayhem. I'm sorry,
yeah.
of Emperor.
Emperor is what it says. Yeah, that's what I found anyway.
Yeah.
I'd say that the Death Growls, that raises the intensity. All instruments just blazing away here. Guitars, keys, bass, drums, just going at 100 miles an hour. Death Growls a few years ago were a deal breaker for me. But since, like I said, I started gradually getting into Opeth, and more recently Blood Incantation, and I've come to gradually appreciate them in certain cases. And this is the only track that actually has the Death Growls on it, and they kind of brought in a ringer to do it. That intensity on Radical Cut, it makes for a nice transition for the closer, or to end yet again. A lot of highs and lows on this one. I love the contrast of the melodic and the heavy. It's majestic. It's epic. It's even got horns that come in as the song kind of builds to the crescendo near the end. Great finish. The most prog track on the album, I would say, easily. And that's probably the other of the two that I said that were my top favorites. And it's the longest track. Clocks in about 10 and a half minutes. And the whole thing clocks in around 43 and a half minutes, and 7 tracks, doesn't overstay its welcome. Great sequencing on the songs. They transition nicely. And thanks to Nick for picking this out for me. I'm enjoying it. I may decide to dive further into the Arcturus catalog. I'm noticing some similarities with Opeth, but I would say it's not too derivative. They've got their own thing going, definitely. And good album. I'd give it a solid 4 stars. And actually, I did order this one.
Oh, cool.
If I'd ordered it a day earlier, I'd have it to hold up. I checked the tracking. It's supposed to arrive today.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I figured that I don't know you as well, but I went through like what you have available on Facebook, what you listen to.
Right.
I saw you had, I think, Bastille Day you put on there and a while ago on your Facebook. I was just like
A
really
bit of
scanning
Rush,
through.
probably.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, as you mentioned in your tastes, like that's what I was expecting, but I was like, yeah, but I think this guy is probably pretty open-minded, and I wasn't gonna give you like some fire and brimstone Gorgoroth album. It's like,
Well, I did say to you in our old chat, like maybe pick something on the lighter end of the extreme side of things.
Yep, that's why. Yeah, this guy's voice, this guy Garm, he's also in a band called Ulver, which started out.
Oh, Oliver, great.
Oh,
Yep,
really?
started out black metal, but now sounds like new wave 80s.
Sounds like Depeche Mode now.
Yeah, Depeche
Yes.
Mode.
They were great.
Yeah, his voice is unbunbelievable, and this is
Yeah,
earlier.
they do use a good bit of synths and electronic keyboards in there. I noticed there's a good bit of that in there.
And
But they don't skip on the guitar either.
Right. Yeah, the keyboard player, Sverd is his nickname, but Steinar Janssen that you mentioned,
Right.
came up on YouTube. He does a lot of like, he just will play bits of either classical stuff or Arcturus stuff, and that dude ain't even human. So
Yeah, he's just plugging away.
yeah.
Karen, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Hello, Miss Karen.
Greetings.
I'm so
Okay.
sorry. I'm so sorry.
First in the wheel. See? You're first. We had to skip you. We had to skip.
Skip you on the wheel of pain.
Yeah.
You know what that means is you're saving the best for last.
Well, before we go too
I wouldn't say that. I mean, talk about a letdown. You're building people up for a big disappointment if you say something like that.
Come on.
Oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm just like, I'm still all hyped up. Let me calm down. Okay.
go too far in the presentation, I'm going to back up and go back to Karen, and then we'll go forward again. So let's go back in time. Let me talk backwards in reverse. Okay, Karen, back at the beginning of the show. And just in case anyone didn't show up, they're going to get the dunce cap. You
Oh, did I make it in time? Do I get the dunce
You're
cap?
here. You're here.
almost got it, but nobody's getting it. It is all right. Not showing up is dunce cap worthy. So, Karen, I gave you something to listen to. What the hell did I give you?
You gave me funeral fuck with a V. There's no U's in this at all.
These.
Oh, you already got it. I was
thank
going to go
you.
grab it off the shelf.
Yes.
There's a lot of things I liked about this record, and there's a few things that I wasn't a fan of. But Jamie, I absolutely understand why you would assign this record to me. It's doom. It's very clean doom, and it's got a definite theme to it. And I looked into the band a little bit, and their theme is the dark side of Catholicism. Their names are religious names. The singer is named Cantor, which is a Jewish singer, but it's in the temple and all that. And I thought it was great, and that was a cool name. I've seen photos of the band, and they're in robes and crucifixes like monks, and they really carry this theme everywhere. The whole theme of this record is the abuses of the Catholic Church. Being a Catholic myself, or raised a Catholic, I feel kind of lucky that I've never experienced this stuff, but it mainly focuses on children, but it also, the nuns are involved, and the priests, and all their point of views on where they're coming from. And a lot of it is, I'm not worthy of God. There are a lot, that theme of punishment self-punishment in the old school Catholic religion. So
Guilt.
that carries on. My favorite song on the album is Alone with the Cross, which is it's really good. It has a few riffs and that I really, really like. The pace of the album is kind of just below mid-tempo, but it works for what they're doing because the vocals are far and above the best part of this record. It's almost like chanting in a lot of ways. It's almost like you can hear old Catholic chanting, be it Orthodox or whatever. So I really like that part. So my pros for this record, where the production is very clean, very nice, but not super spit shiny clean. The vocals are great. I can't see them with another vocalist. I really feel like this vocalist makes the band. And the graphics are great. The album cover is great. Their album covers from their past records are really cool. And how they stick to that theme is what I really appreciate. My cons about this record are the production is a little too clean for my tastes, but I understand why other people would absolutely dig it. I like my doom dirty, filthy, disgusting, gross, slimy from the gutter, like it should sound filthy, 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 filthy. That being said, this is a big reason why I don't love this album, but I do like it. I like keeping it on. I like the chants are soothing. I mean, the vocals are very soothing, and I really like it. Jamie, what year was this album released?
Oh, when did I get this? 2019, maybe?
Yeah, it's not a new record, but they have definitely, I was looking at them online, they definitely have their fans.
Yep.
And this I could see appealing to a lot of people. For me, it was just too clean, but I do appreciate what they do. Like I said, I love the vocals. I really, really do. I like that chanting sound. It's not also, if anybody is not familiar with Funeral Fuck, but is familiar with a band called Forming the Void, the vocals are very similar to that. A big con for this album or this band is their name. I think in a genre like Doom, I'm not saying they have to put that weed and all that other redundant theme, but I think this will give people the wrong impression. Maybe in Europe, they're from Germany. That's how they roll. But I think that Funeral Fuck, it would sound to me, I thought was black metal. And I was like, oh, Jamie.
Well, Karen, there's a very famous black metal song called Funeral Fog
Okay.
by Mayhem that's what when you said the name, that's what I thought of. And it does put you in mind of a black metal thing.
Right. And especially because the U's are V's. They're not real U's. So I thought, oh, wow, Jamie's giving me a black metal album. That's a little out, I didn't see that coming. But yeah, like I said, pros are the production is good, but that's also a con for me. Like I said, Alone with the Cross is my favorite. Got a little bit of extra riffage in there. Very clean. I wish the drums were a little dirtier, but the vocals are to me, they're standout. So.
And the album's called Cardinal Confessions.
That's right. You guys, I'm so sorry. You viewers out there too, I apologize. I just slapped on some makeup, threw my shit together on here, and I just jumped on because I overslept.
They only got one album, so
Yeah.
I thought
look
they
them
had
up.
two.
They have an EP, Lecherous Liturgies.
And that theme is also on that. This, Evil Catholic Church is also on that.
Well, the first song on the EP is, I don't know if I could say this on air, Erection in the House of God.
Telling you. I wonder if these guys are damaged. Like if something happened to them in church. I don't know. I mean, it's extensive and there's a lot of thought into it because like I said, it comes from points of view from not only the kids who were abused, but the nuns and the priests, and it really dives into it.
I think I like the clean production because it makes me feel like they're almost recording it in a church.
Well, that's a good
A little
point.
bit of reverb on his voice. It gives it that echo like he is in a church. The drums are clean, but man, they just sound so good to me, those drums on this album. Uh,
Yeah.
See how it could be too clean for somebody, of course, but I think it's one of the best Doom albums to come out in recent years. I really dig it.
Well, it's I really like the vocals a lot. And Jamie, that point of what you're saying with the reverb, and it does definitely feel, it gave me like, if I'm in church and they're singing in Latin and stuff, like I definitely got that feeling. And I think that's a strong, strong plus for this record.
Does it have a lot of reverb?
In his voice,
In his voice, yeah.
Because
But
that's the whole point of the when you go. I mean, my memory when I was a kid, when they would drag me to church in Mexico, Catholicism is a big deal. Yeah, you get into this big dark room, and there's a man in a purple dress, and he sounds with a boomy voice.
yeah,
You don't know what the fuck he's saying, but you're scared shitless. So
yeah.
that's kind of the vibe, right? So it's
that vibe
yeah.
is definitely on this record. And I think it's cool. I think that's my favorite part of it. And a lot of people will like this production. I mean, the drums to me are just, if the drums were dirtier, I might really be there for this. If the drums were dirtier, but the vocals are featured very upfront, which is great. But I like the guitars a little bit more. And like I said, the production is clean, not too clean. We're not talking about like Judas Priest's last album or anything like that. I'm talking, it's just clean enough where I'm just like, damn, if those drums were a little dirtier, I could really be there for this. But so,
I'm
Funeral
intrigued.
Fuck, Carnal Confessions.
When you say dirty drums, what do you mean exactly? Is it like you want the microphones to be just on the edge of clipping, or do you want them to actually add like
It's just
harmonic
clean.
content to them?
That's Chris.
See, I'm not a musician. I never set up equipment, so I'm not, I don't really know how to
No, but I'm
answer.
wondering the sound. Like, what would be an example of dirty drums? Just like,
Aaron, can I so I'm thinking like the last two Priest albums where like the drums are like have that very clean triggered like
That's it. There's a
like
lot of trigger
okay,
sound.
triggered.
it
Yeah,
sounds
that
like
I can
almost like a drum
understand.
machine or like Old
Mhm.
Electric Wizard where it's like, kind of muted and like warm and organic. That's what I'm thinking
Yes,
you're
thank
going
you,
with.
Like,
Ryan. I
like one of
appreciate
the old Sabbath albums, that would be dirtier drums.
Yeah, Bill Ward.
There you go,
Yeah.
Bill Ward, the godfather of jazz metal.
the reason why Paranoid is my favorite album of all time are the drums, is that drum sound. He plays on top of the kit the
I
whole
understand
time.
that what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah, you know what I'm
I
saying?
think
So
Ryan nailed it. That's exactly it.
It's
Yeah.
I think it's you're opposed to like that. I just think of those last Priest albums where the drums are super clean and like it sounds like a drum machine. Like it doesn't sound like a human playing it to me.
I
That's
wouldn't
the
say that Funeral Fuck is that far, but they're
Going
more
that
on
way.
that clean side. Now, and that's also a big problem I have with like newer metal bands coming out, like new genres like deathcore and stuff. It's just too clean, too clean.
The
So,
drums have that very robotic. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I have the same. I have the
what
same
they
feeling.
do is, I mean, because the Priest drummer is a great drummer, but when they record it, they compress the shit out of it, so all the transients are dead.
Yeah, you don't get the
You just
room.
hear the initial smack.
You don't get the nice warm feeling of it.
Exactly.
You don't
You
get
don't
the
get all the
room.
rollover of everything else. So then it's
No overhead room sound.
no, it's
well,
just
yeah.
yeah.
Thank you guys. I mean, like I said, I've never set up a kit. I never, I don't know
I don't know why that became such a trend in metal, but it is kind of upsetting and disappointing. It's usually
Well, it's
like
one of
disappointing.
one of the great things about, as we referenced with black metal, excuse me, was when I said there was that Funeral Fog song, because thinking back to like the early 90s black metal albums that everybody loves, some of that was recorded in Greg Hall Studios, which was like a massive concert hall. So they had
it's
the
an opera hall in Bergen,
opera hall.
Norway.
Yeah, so it added this echoey quality to the drum strikes that made it sound so, just added another layer
Big,
of, filth to it, I guess, or like,
it's
I don't want to go
mystery.
way off
exact
the
opposite
rails.
of
But
this.
Nick, on that same album, that song From the Dark Past, when all the other instruments come out and
Yeah.
Hellhammer does that drum roll,
Oh.
it sounds like you're standing inside like the biggest cave on earth. It's like
Yeah.
it's booming like bigness. That's awesome. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to go off the rails.
Before
Anyway,
I stop, I
moving
just
along.
want to say that the production is, you could tell it's quality. They really put a thought and effort into that. And I also appreciate that. Just a little too clean for me, but that's it.
Cool.
No, about 3 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, I sent one of those tracks, the YouTube video of one of those tracks to Lewis. And I said, check this out. And he fucking ignored me. No response.
Like I said, I'm sorry, man.
So next,
I will do my due diligence now. I promise.
All right. Well, you're next. So what did
Oh, good.
All right. Well, Karen gave me a record that when I saw the name of the band and the name of the album, nothing rang a bell. So I said, "Awesome, let's do this." The band is the Black Angels, and the album is called Passover. And so I just started to listen to it, and I realized immediately that at least the first song on the album I had heard before, because it was used on a series that I think is one of the best crime series, like fantasy, supernatural, True Detective season 1.
Yes, right on. That's right.
And I am a very big fan of everything to do with H.P. Lovecraft. And these guys sort of, it's not explicit, but there is that. What would that look like in the modern day? Not like early 20th century New England, but somewhere else in the States, if there was some kind of weirdness and people are going missing, and it's just really out of control, but it's like a slow acting nuclear bomb. It's this thing is just unstoppable. And so the series automatically puts the album in a different light for me because the series is so epic, right? So I had to work hard to sort of disentangle that song, The Young Dead, or I don't remember the titles because, yeah, the Young Men Dead. I had to sort of figure out a way to not think about that from the perspective of the true crime, the true detective. The album, the way I would describe it is it's straight ahead rock as far as the structures, but or at least that's what you would think initially. But then if you listen to it closely, they're actually very, very well written songs, all of them. And I was surprised because it's simple lines, but they're everything is well placed, and it never reaches like I would think an example for people who know would be like Meshuggah, which is really heavy. This is not heavy at all, but in Meshuggah, everything that each individual guy is playing is kind of simple, but it has an exact timing position for everything. And if you fuck it up, the whole thing crumbles. And this is not like that, but it is very much about creating moods. It's about creating textures. The singers, I think there's two singers. That's another thing. I don't like to read up on the band. I just want to hear the record, just judge the work, and then if I like it, then I'll figure it out. He's a very good singer for that style. I think he delivers exactly the right way. At times, it sounds to me like they have two bass guitars going, which is unusual. And then there's also some kind of like a drony fuzz. I'm not sure if it's a guitar though.
It is.
but and I only say that because it has like no decay. So it's just very weird, but it gives it that nice texture. It's almost like how in pop music they use synth pads. These guys have a fuzz pad to what
all
they
the time.
do. Yeah, there's a
Every
constant
record.
fuzz, to which I knew why you would dig it, Karen. I really like the album. I think the lyrics are interesting. I mean, I can read off some of the song titles, and that's the vibe, right? I mean, here we have things like these are the notes that I made. Just give me a second. Yeah, Young Men Dead is the first one. That's like a 5.5 minute song. It's great. It's been not only on True Detective, it's been in other films and things. It's awesome. Then they have the first Vietnamese War. One of my favorites is the Sniper at the Gates of Heaven.
Yes.
Fucking awesome. And then, of course, Black Grease. Talk about filth.
Yes, it's all about.
Yeah, and but then the very last song was very surprising because it seems to go on forever, but it's I think it's called Call to Arms. But what happens is that it does go on for about 10 minutes or so, and then there's just silence. And if you wait for another like 3 minutes, it starts up again with
Yeah, it comes back.
another like it's kind of like the Vietnam War, but now it's about the Iraq War.
Mhm.
So I thought it was clever. I really liked it. I think many people have heard the band, even if they, like me, they didn't know who the band were because they've
Mhm.
seen them. They've seen media that has the music. I really enjoyed it. It's not the sort of thing that I would normally look for or pick up, but this was nice. The cons for me are, unfortunately, although I think they did get a very good sound for the kick drum and the snare. The drummer is a little bit of what we call a feather tapper. So, and that is to the detriment of the music because the basic hi-hat, kick drum, and snare sounds powerful, but the fills, it's like they disappear.
They're non-existent now
It's
that
like
I
when you
found
shake
it.
hands with somebody and they give you like the fish fin,
Yeah, yeah.
That's the sense I get from these fills. And that to
Yeah.
me is very distracting, especially as a bass player. I don't, I wish that they had really Bill Warded it.
That's a great point. I can see that.
I'm going to use that as an expression now.
That's right.
You got to billboard up these
Catch
drums.
on.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, and that is a problem because that's true of every song, right? They all
Yeah.
have that quality. So
Right.
if I had to give it a rating, that would be the only reason why I would give it like maybe a 3 out of 5. But if I just look at the quality of the music, that'd easily be a 4, 4.5 for that
So
style because the songs are very well put together. But whoever decided on the production for the drums really struck out. I
I
think
can
that
absolutely see your point there.
Yeah.
And you're right. I think the album would be elevated much more. The
and they have
vocals
other
didn't
records.
bother you?
I'm gonna go hear them now at some
Oh,
point.
God.
But
The vocals didn't bother you at all?
no, the vocals, like I said, it's like the music has to put you somewhere, right?
Right.
So what vibe are they going for?
Very moody.
It's a little bit like what would you sing about if you think everything's gone to shit?
Yeah, I
And
mean,
that's exactly what they achieve, right?
right.
So for me, it's coherent.
Hmm.
That's something I really like in music. I don't like it when they're singing about whatever happy shit and it's like death growls. It's just incoherent, or
Right,
vice
right.
versa, right? All these evil themes, but the singer is pitch corrected and it's just perfect. No, right?
Not too much
So
echo for you?
but that's the thing. That's definitely a headphone album.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going for that introspection. They're going for that inner space thing, right? They want to give you a feeling of claustrophobia, and I think they achieve it, which is why they ended up picking that song for all these horror shows and things. It's really good,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
not using, and that's the other thing. It's spooky without using the tritone, all the other things that are very much part of that vocabulary. I think they managed to make some kind of spooky Americana,
Hmm.
and it's nice. I think that's something unexpected, and I love the use of tremolo and rotary on the guitars.
Yeah.
That's another kind of, so there's a very swirling thing. It's a little disconcerting when you first start hearing it. You don't realize why you're getting seasick, and it's all these little effects. So it's very clever. I liked it. I liked
I'm
it a
glad
lot.
to hear that. I just want to add that the Black Angels put on a psych festival in Austin every year called
Right.
Levitation. And they always have a stellar lineup. So I was almost going to give you another band from Levitation, the big Levitation.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, and they play every year and they kill it. I love them. So
It's a good Hawkwind song, Levitation.
That's right.
It is.
Okay.
All right, so that was Lewis. We did Nick.
Whoa.
Did Scott. Scott gave the Ryan. There you are.
Oh, there he is.
Where's the soup? Scow.
Yeah, right.
So Scott gave to me, of all the bands we've discussed so far, he gave to me, I would say, so far, the most legendary, well-known, respected, like beloved worldwide, blah blah blah. He gave to me the album Hot Rats by Frank Zappa.
Aha.
And he asked me, he said, "Do you have any preference on what I give you?" And I'm like, "You give me whatever the hell you want." And he's like, "Are you really familiar with Zappa?" And I'm like, "Honestly, it's a huge blind spot for me." My familiarity with Zappa really starts and ends with like a lot of the interviews and stuff he said over the years, which I love. As far as the
Respect
guy's
that
opinions
guy.
on like music and culture and like wider like societal stuff, one of the smartest guys to ever pick up a guitar, without fucking question. I just love reading the stuff he's written or it said and written in interviews and stuff. But when it comes to his music, I'm not really familiar. I never really listened to the Mothers of Invention or any of his solo albums, and I know he has a massive discography over decades with many musicians. So I made the decision when going to listen to this. I'm like, I'm not going to look at all this stuff because obviously there's a huge back catalog. There's tons of information here. I am familiar with him from his interviews and stuff and his thoughts and his musings. But as far as the musical side of things, I wasn't really familiar. It's like I'm going to go in blind. I'm going to listen to the album. I'm going to look up some pertinent stuff for the album itself, but I'm not really going to delve into all the minutia because obviously a guy like that, you could go on forever. Like he's one of those artists where you can go
Exactly.
deep into the weeds, like over a lifetime,
Big.
probably more than most musicians in the 20th century. Uh, so I put the album on. I was only fleetingly familiar with Zappa from a couple songs here and there. And I'm not going to say I disliked it, but nothing ever like caught my ear. Like, oh, what the hell is that? I got to kind of go follow the breadcrumbs. I would just hear a song here and there because I know a lot of Zappa fans, obviously being such a beloved artist. So I put this album on. I did see it was one of the first albums he did. I think the first album he did after the dissolution of the Mothers of Invention from 1969. One of his first solo albums. Mostly him, and I believe the fellow's name was, we get it right here, Ian Underwood. And the two of them were kind of like the primary conspirators on this album with a lot of other musicians playing on different tracks. The first thing that came to my mind is, man, for 1969, the production on this album is thermonuclear. It
I'd
sounds,
say 1970.
was it 1970?
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
But still,
Sure, 69, Rick.
it
Yeah.
sounds,
Okay.
well, either way, it was like
Started at 69 anyway.
69, 70, but like this sounds phenomenal. It's so warm. Everything sounds crystal clear, but like I know we've had some discussion or production discussions here, but like it just sounds perfect. Like if you could put in your mind's eye like the ideal production, I'm like, this
Mhm.
sounds it sounds perfect. Like I wouldn't change anything on any aspect of the recording side of stuff.
I
I
agree.
saw that he used a 16 track recording process. I guess one of the first artists to really
They
delve
are
into
at the
that.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like, as far as the production side, I don't even know what else I could say about that other than every instrument has the perfect amount of separation. It's warm, it's clear, everything's mixed. It's just like perfect. How else can you improve on 10 out of 10? So on that side of stuff, 10 out of 10 out of 10 all the way down the road. Then my second thought was not really being familiar with Zappa. I'm like, this is a little different. Wasn't what I expected, but and I'm like, he is kind of the artist where you shouldn't expect something because
Mm.
you don't know what you're gonna get. So it's jazz rock, pretty heavily jazz rock, softer rock side. Um, Never really ever picks up into like any kind of aggressiveness, which is totally fine.
Mhm.
Doesn't have vocals except for the second track, which features Captain Beefheart on vocals. Interesting vocal track. And that I heard that, I'm like, this kind of sounds like something I'd expect from Zappa. Like it's not really comedic, but it puts a smile on your face. Um, so the first time I listened to this, I'm like, I listened to the whole album. Unfortunately, I did have it on at work, so I was doing some other stuff, and it kind of got lost in the background. I'm like, it's a pretty mellow album, and just kind of goes along. I'm like, nah, you know what? This is a headphones album. I need to put this on,
There you
sit
go.
down, good set of headphones, and just kind of like soak the album up with no other distractions. So I did, and in that context, I'm like, I thought it was really interesting. Now, I don't want to go into too much like a track by track because to me, it's an album where you do want to put headphones on. It's not that long. It's only about 43 minutes. It's only six songs on the original version I was listening to, only six tracks. And some of the tracks are they get up there, 9, 10 minutes. Some shorter tracks as well, but it all flows very smoothly. The opening track, which I read was one of his more renowned numbers over the years, Peaches and Regalia.
Mhm.
Awesome. just so mellow, so cool. The way they kind of go back and forth between the solos and play off each other. Ian does I read all the woodwinds, all the woodwind instruments, of which
Right.
there are many on this album, unbelievable. I wouldn't even, the vocals coming in on track two. I'm like, oh, that's a little different. And then the rest of the album, like I said, remains instrumental. But yeah, it's something I was actually struggling to think of stuff to say about this album because I'm listening to it and I'm like, it's definitely a headphones album. It's very enjoyable. The production's immaculate. And then it's the other side of that is the musicianship is just godlike. These guys could,
They
I
can
don't even know.
play.
I wouldn't even know what to say. Everybody else on the album. So I had the whole list of other musicians. Every single person featured on this album is a stellar musician. The way they play individually, the way they play back and forth off each other, obviously being heavily jazz related, the interplay between musicians is just as important as the individual performance and how they, push and pull and, tension and release and stuff. Amazing. So this is a genre where I am familiar, but it's something I want to say I dabble in. I have a handful of albums that, kind of like cross the boundary between jazz and rock, go back and forth, various levels of aggressiveness. Some stuff goes more towards like free jazz where it gets a little more, dissonant and stuff. Some stuff stays mellower. But it's overall a genre where I'm not really familiar, but I do dabble and I do like it. So I'm listening to this, and after a couple listens, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go buy a copy. So I ended up going on Discogs and I picked up a copy for a couple bucks.
Nice.
Yeah. Now,
Nice.
this definitely is going to lead me further into Zappa stuff, but he's one of those guys where I just want to say it's like Hawkwind too. Like you can get two albums that you really like, and then a bunch of albums where you're like, but I don't know because I haven't really dived in yet. But this album, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really so I want to thank Scott for sending me down that path.
You betcha, man.
When he said Zappa, I'm like, well, that's a big name, and there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff, There's just
He's a big name, but I think there's a lot of people, like you said, that maybe aren't that familiar with his albums, or maybe they know a song or two, and that's about it. No more for his, opinions and his media appearances and all that. But yet less so the music. You compare this one to like the early Mother stuff, and it's night and day.
Yeah,
it couldn't be more different. The Mother stuff. I mean, it's interesting, but the production value is very low on those. There's a lot of fucking around, a lot of silliness. I mean, there's some cool music in there, but yeah, sometimes that stuff kind of gets in the way, in my opinion. This is kind of where he kicks off his jazz period, his fusion period. So if you want to pursue more stuff in that vein, I'd suggest stuff like Waka Jawaka, Grand Wazoo.
Okay. That would be because I'll be honest, the fucking around stuff is kind of what kept me at a distance because I
get that.
I have a tenuous relationship with music that like I don't know how to articulate it well. It kind of can put me off when it's like oh, we're being silly now. Like, oh, okay, we're being silly now,
I mean, I think they were going for sort of a satire kind of thing, and some of it works and some of it hasn't aged well.
It seems like the trend of Cheech and Chong comedy albums started coming out in the 70s. He had a dab in that as well. But the way you described that album is the way I felt. It was well sonically, well musicianship. I was just impressed, and that was my very first Zappa album that I bought as a gamble. And so I had the very similar experience as you, brother. I was apprehensive of getting it because I don't want to talk about the yellow snow. I don't eat the yellow snow kind of stuff. But even though it's funny, I wanted something a little more serious. But you know what? I walked away thinking, man, Zappa is a serious, good guitar player and a great songwriter. So it was a good impression for me too. So just so you know, that's why I knew it was 1970, the year I was born. But I also knew that you spoke everything as the way I would evaluate that album. It was it's a good, interesting listening album, and it goes by so fast too.
It goes by real quick, and there's nothing silly about it at all. And his guitar playing is a lot of his solos fantastic. Like he does some pretty extended leads on this album. They don't get like, all right, here we go, 5 minutes of blah, 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 blah. None of that. It's very
the thing with Zappa,
violins on there, Brian. You've got Sugarcane Harris and Jean-Luc Ponty both do violins on different tracks on that.
Yeah, great. I mentioned all the musicianship, but even the rhythm section too, like all the bass
Yeah.
and a bass and a drumming too is
Drummer, yeah.
just
Big
just
time.
I mean, production wise and musicianship, yeah, you couldn't improve a thing.
No.
It's
I
fantastic.
think Zappa. I like Zappa best when he shuts up and plays his guitar, and he does lots of that here.
And that's what this album is. So yeah, no, I'm not gonna rate it or anything, but I will just say I went out and bought it. I bought a copy. So
Very cool.
that's my rating.
Zappa is his own genre.
He really is, and it's almost like several genres.
It's every record will be different. Like if you go forward in time, and you get one size fits all. For example, when he gets Napoleon Murphy Brock,
another great one,
guys in, that album will blow your mind. Even though it has vocals and some of the song titles may seem silly, it's great. And then as you go further on into the 70s, an album like Overnight Sensation, even Apostrophe that Rick was mentioning. I mean, yeah, it does have Don't You Read the Yellow Snow, but St. Alfonso's Pancake Breakfast, all this stuff. But the music, dude, is absolutely mind-blowing. He gets Jack Bruce to do a distorted fretless bass solo over the title track, right?
I love Jack Bruce.
And every record has something weird. And then he decided, why am I having all these great musicians and I'm doing the singing and I suck as a singer? So he hired really good singers also. And they do all these incredible things. So yeah, I mean, for me, Zappa is something aspirational. I remember when I was a kid, I got my first records were hand-me-downs from the older sister of a friend who was going to go back to England to join the Aleister Crowley whatever thing, right? So I got these. Everybody had picked through all this stuff, and all that was left was Zappa, and I didn't know what Zappa was. And I was trying to learn how to play, and I was on a Maidenhead, and I was a Metalhead, and I could think, oh, I could write something like that. I can certainly play it. It was like my vibe. When I put on that first Zappa album, which happened to be the Grand Wazoo, I just took the needle off. I was intimidated as fuck. It's like an alien landed. And I said to myself, this never happened. It was something that I listened to. And at my 12 or 13 years old, I thought, fuck this. I can't do this. I just filed it away. And for years, I would not pick it up again because it scared the shit out of me how advanced it was, how alien, right? I even missed the chance to see him rehearse with an orchestra in Mexico City.
Oh wow!
He did a lot. He did a lot of things with orchestra. All these rock albums.
Yeah, that's true.
Orchestral stuff. And by the way, if you like, dark but adventurous orchestral stuff, towards the end of his life, there's a thing called the Yellow Shark Ensemble, which may be one of the most incredible records I've ever heard with his music. It is just played by these young orchestra musicians who put in the time to really rehearse and learn the stuff.
Right.
Because he always paid money to orchestras who murdered his music. They could not play it.
London Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah. And these kids nailed it. So yeah, I envy you, man, because you only get one chance.
You only get to hear it once. I guess the last thing I could say, though, is that even though I was unfamiliar with his music, I did go into it biased because as a person, massive respect. So I already kind of had my head tilted that way. So it wasn't like, totally like, who the hell is this guy? So I already went in like, this guy's cool as shit. Well, let's see what his
right.
He does get talked about on the channel a lot. I noticed some.
No, he definitely does.
Heard him, but I thought, well, maybe he hasn't, and not everybody has. And so I know he's a little challenging for some people, but I figure Ryan's up to this challenge.
I appreciate it. I really enjoyed this album. It took a few listens for it to kind of like click, but once it did, I'm like, it's like a really laid back headphones album. You just like to get the journey. And it was cool as shit. So I appreciate that.
Right on.
I always felt like, what could he have done? I mean, he died so young. Like I feel like we've been gypped. The world has been gypped of all this great.
That's how it goes.
And just his brain, just being here.
Maybe he knew that, and that's why he just was so prolific. Who has a bigger catalog?
King Gizzard and the Wizard.
not many over that many years for sure.
A great gateway album to go down that rabbit hole.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so who do we got next? Rick, what did Ryan give you?
Well, I knew regardless what he gave me, it was going to be interesting, and he knows me enough, about some of the choices, the music we like, a lot of similar things. But he also goes to some real deep unknown artist that, and I knew there's a good chance that the very first one you suggest, I might not know it because you know, a lot of people, we have album collection, it's huge, and I know he was going to give me a rare oddity, if you will, and he did. It was the band from Italy, a doom heavy metal band called Black Hole, and the album is called Land of Mystery. And I have to say right off the bat, it came out in 1985 on album. And then they put it out on CD 2006, then 2011 as a digital pack or whatever. And when you get some bonus tracks, right? So, but right off the bat, when I'm listening to it, right in the very beginning, it begins on with haunted, like an evil, Phantom of the Opera music, you know, the haunting keyboard and all that. I'm like, oh wow, I'm going on for a good trip here. Just the album cover showed you in the name of the track that you know that there's some you know, darkness coming over about this music. And I gotta say, right off the bat, it reminded me right off, you know, like Goblin and Black Sabbath and so many cool bands that, to me, because this band is probably not as known, maybe it is, but for me, I would have thought these were the grandfathers or the fathers of the band that we're listening to now, Green Lung, Acid Mammoth, because this is such a common trend today, the stoner rock and doom music, that they were doing this in 85 when everybody was putting on makeup and hairspray and stuff like that. So it was pretty kind of cool that this band was, you know, this raw, if you will, because it was like that. And that's part of the charm. I mean, when you listen to the album, it reminded me, like, songs reminded me like NIB, and it reminded me of this and reminded me of that. But it's really original music. It's a three-piece band. Even though it's in English, you can hear the Italian accent, you know.
So Italian. I love it.
And I gotta say, it's very, very, it's like a horror movie soundtrack meet with heavy metal and hard rock. I mean, doom metal. And they do it so well where you had all these peaks and valleys with the riff-a-rama here or the keyboard thing. And then, but then they're going to a scene of a movie or something because it's so spooky, and it would be the ideal great soundtrack to a great horror film, right? And that's what it was like, a little mismatch of all that stuff. I enjoyed it, and I don't know what's my favorite track. I love the way it opens. I like the title track, Land of Mystery, a lot. All by Evil, The Bells of Death. I'm just a song title, I'm telling you. You know what I'm talking about. Some of you guys may have to go and do confession after you listen to this. But the reality is it had that 70s style synthesizer vibe into it, like when it comes to the big keyboard and organ, but it had the hard rock of, let's say, the guitars, like Master of Reality type. Now, the producer, songwriter in me want to clean it up a little bit to bring the vocals up, but that's part of its charm, being a little bit raw, a little bit on a verge of being a garage band, but still you can hear everything. It's just that because of the frequency, and Lewis will know what I'm talking about, the heavy bass and the drum, a lot of them are robbing the same frequency. So I would pan them a little bit this, pan them a little bit that. Big is 1985, right? So they get done on an analog tape back then. And analog is warm, so it's got a warm feel right through it. So it's going to be an awesome listen, trust me. And I think it's well done. It's just that, to me, I would remaster it and kind of clean it up a little bit, not overly polished. But I'm the guy that loved the Volume 4 Master of Reality, but then I really love Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, how cleaner it got, and showing all the definition of the band, right? So it's in the middle of those two roads, right? And so, but, you know, just taking it for its charm, for what it have to offer, I think it kicks ass. In fact, I ordered it, and I've got it coming from eBay on April 23rd. It should arrive at my house. Now, I got it for, like, I had to make an offer on eBay. Okay. And I got it for $13 US. It cost me more to ship it US
Oh
the
yeah,
highest
yeah,
even,
yeah.
Yeah.
to be honest. But that's okay. You add it up, it's about $50, $40 Canadian record for me. I'm glad to put it in my collection.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah.
The only thing I could say is for 1985 in Italy, like I mean, and we go figure too. They probably had like no availability for studio,
Yeah, you
good
got to think about
producers,
that stuff.
equipment. So it's like, well,
Right.
this is what you got. Take it or leave it. They're like, all right, well,
Exactly. It's vintage. It's almost like here's the microphone, the overhead mic. You can tell me it's not. Like I said, I would definitely put some drum definition in there and a few other things just to make it. That's the songwriter, producer of my own shit
Right.
that I would do.
But
But that's
I would
but
just
for
say,
them being captured, almost like it was a captured live performance or something, and gave you and what's cool about it is the sequence. Every song has to go in that order to
Oh,
get
yeah.
a
Yeah,
real
yeah.
feel of the whole album, and it's so to me it's one of those albums you have to listen to third and fourth, and you have to hear it loud. In order to hear everything, you have to turn it up or at least headphone to get all what's going on. It doesn't do justice listening through your laptop and your little speakers or anything like that. You need
Mhm.
to have the subwoofer and the warmth to carry the bass and to really hear it to be a little wider so you can hear every instrument. And considering it's a three-piece band,
Yeah.
it's really busy and big. And so I enjoyed it. It fits right along with the band that I love today, Green Lung and Acid Mammoth. Like I felt like they followed this band. You know what I mean? That sound that came out, even though they probably I don't know if they have many albums, but they might be
very,
a
very few.
Yeah.
After this, they did other stuff, but it was years later, and none of the other stuff
okay.
was really as good. So,
Well, probably when they started releasing these albums to make it available on CD. But
mm.
anyway, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate this album. I'm definitely glad to add it into my massive collection, and I'll be pulling this out quite a bit.
Oh, awesome.
I don't know. I listened to it quite a bit since you gave the assignment to give it justice. But I like it on the first listen. Like I said, it's just a producer guy in me wanted to clean it up just because I see room to do that. Sometimes when you're recording music like I am presently, it's hard to turn off that brain and just be a listener and sit back. Sometimes you want to just try to pick it apart. I guess it's like that if you were a film director. You probably have a hard time watching movies because you're saying, how did they do that shot? How did they, whatever. But I'm over analyzing. But as an experience for me to rely to everybody, it's definitely a solid 4 out of 5 for me. Maybe even more.
Wow.
If you can appreciate the record of what it's trying to do, here's it. No hold, no apology. It's raw. It's truly doom metal. But is there room for improvement if you could remaster it? For sure. But the reality is that it came out in '85. This is pretty real and honest, and I think it was like to me, I enjoyed it just for that, just for the historical part and how daring it was for them, and really not following no 1985 trend. Because I was 15 then, and I remember what music was like, and this is really off the beaten path, really. Even though it has homage to the real bands like Goblin and Black Sabbath and some of that 70 vibe, they're writing their own ticket here. And so thanks again for sharing that with me. I would I like it right off the bat, and I'm curious to see what else they got.
Can I add, when you said that and when you were younger, I feel the same way. I saw this record, I totally dismissed it. I thought it looked dumb. I was so into thrash. I didn't even want to know. You know what I mean? Like I would see it in the city and the import. I don't know. I don't care. I want the new Celtic Frost. I was so laser focused, and I didn't get into this record until years later. I saw it online. Ryan was talking about it, and I was like, maybe I should actually listen to it. And I love it. I love it. So yeah. And also, that what I like so much about that production that you're talking about, it's just that let's just get this music out of here, out of me. This is my songs. This is what
Yep.
I wrote.
Take it
This
or leave
I'm
it kind of thing.
expressing myself. I could do this, and so can you. And that's what I love about underground music so much. And
The one
Yeah,
thing I'll say about the production, speaking of horror movies, it sounds like it was recorded in a crypt in like some old Italian city.
It's
Big
so
time.
Guinea
Yeah.
over the top.
It's like there's
I love
cobwebs
it.
and coffins, and it just has that feel, which I fucking love. So
Yeah, it truly does. It really does. And I honestly thought they made songs out of a soundtrack of a horror movie and put, that kind of thing. It was inspired, whatever it was, but it was done really well. And it's cohesive, the whole thing from start to finish.
yeah.
It belonged. Now, I understand there's 7 tracks on this record, and if you get the CD presently today, they give you some bonus demos and a live version of Spectral World, which I like. That's a good tune. So I'm hoping to get that version of that CD. I don't know. When you get an eBay, they don't show you the back line. You just see it said brand new, still wrapped up. So I bought it and I made a deal. It was like, I shouldn't say $18 US or something like that. Hey, see if the buzz 13 US. Yeah, they did. So it's on its way. So thank you.
I got my version has it's got 4 demo tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to hear that record.
Out of
I was
all,
just gonna say that we're talking about the production, but it's been 15 years since Zappa did his record, and he could get all the separation. That's just a stylistic choice all the way. Like
Mhm.
they had the gear, right? They just wanted it to sound,
The way it is.
yeah. It's
Circumstances too, because I don't know where, I forget where in Italy they're from, but if it was like, they didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah, that's right. It could
No,
be on a budget.
the thing that Rick is mentioning is really just EQ.
Mm-hmm.
You can make it sound thick and greasy
Yep.
and nasty, but you can achieve the separation of the bass and the drums. And
Yep.
it just
I
takes
get you, yeah.
but there's a finesse to it. And
Yes.
you're not going to get that in a live show. So they're going for the live sound.
Yes.
100%,
Then
100%
that's what they did, you know?
Yep. You said it, Lewis. That's right.
That's definitely true.
all right. Out of all the albums so far, that's the one I want to check out the most.
Cool.
It's the third buy now, right?
Ralph, you haven't said a damn word the whole show.
Yeah, right, Ralph.
You gotta talk now.
There's Ralph.
What did Rick give you?
All right, he gave me a band that I've heard of for years and years, but just never bothered to check them out. It's not in my world of what I usually go out of my way for. Spiritual Beggars, pretty well-known band from Sweden. Return to Zero was the album he picked for me, and I go back. Michael Amit, the guitar player, I go back 35 years. He played on this album, Carnage, death metal band from Sweden.
Yeah.
Real legendary album. And they members went on to form Dismember, and Nick is wearing a hat for Dismember right now. But then I seen him live back in the day because he was on these 2 Carcass albums. I actually went to this Carcass album. They had the H.R. Giger art show in New York City, and it was their record release party because he did the sculpture for this album. So I actually met him back then, and then the bass player, he goes back to this old band called Witchery, goes back to the early 90s. And I met him when he was playing in Merciful Fate. Here's a picture of me with him and Mike Weed from Merciful Fate when he was with them. And he's also the bass player of Arch Enemy.
Yeah.
And so I knew all these members, but I just never went out of my way to check out what they were doing with this band. But it's right away. I like the name of the band, and I like the album cover. It has this Callie from statue. This is from Golden Voyage of Sinbad, but that's what the cover reminded me of this. And so Lost in Yesterday, the first song, it instantly kicks off with a beefy, heavy riff, and I liked it right away. The vocals remind me a lot of Chris Cornell. I was sitting there going, who the hell does this guy sound like? And then it hit me. I was like, oh man, he sounds a lot like Chris Cornell from Soundgarden. And but it changes throughout, not every song, but I can also picture Dio singing these songs for some reason. But Starborn was a cool, upbeat song, good flow. The Chaos of Rebirth starts off with a riff that reminds me a little bit of Zero the Hero off of Born Again. Great leads on this album, throughout. His guitar playing is really amazing. We Are Free, more cool, energetic stoner rock. Spirit of the Wind. It's mellow, but it's atmospheric, which is cool. Coming Home, another upbeat one. Concrete Horizon, more amazing guitar work. A New Dawn Rising, some deep purple vibes with the organ. Also in the next song, Believe in Me. Dead Weight sort of has like a Heaven and Hell Dio vibe to it. Like I would really picture Dio singing that song. And I think it ended with a bad song. The weakest song on the album. It's like a ballad with a piano. Road Less Traveled. That's the one song that I would probably skip on this. But besides that, I had a really great flow to the whole album, and I listened to it right after Rick gave me the assignment, and then I just listened to it again this morning, and I remembered every song. It was like that's how memorable it was that I can remember it. So it's not something I would run out and buy, but like if I was going to a show and they were on the bill, I would definitely go in and see them. And I enjoyed listening to it a second time. I know if I listened to it more and more, it would really grow on me. But I also let this the self-titled album play after, and that had a different singer, and it gave it like a different vibe. The music's still kind of the same, but I definitely prefer this guy singing. But
Now,
definitely,
did you have the Time to Live, the bonus track? It's from Uriah Heep. They did a cover on that. It's way at the tail end of the album. And but the reason why I gave them that, like I didn't know, I like this band, I like this discography, and there's so many great kick-ass rock in this discography. But that was the first one I heard, so I thought, you know what, if it was impressionable for me to at least get it on a recommendation from Pete Pardo, I went and I got it, and then I went deep diving. I like a lot of tunes. Some songs are stronger than others, but because it had that Uriah Heep tune on there, I think that's why Pete recommended it to me to get in there. So either way, I appreciate that you gave it a good spin and you like it. Like I said, it was the hardest thing was to pick what album I was gonna give you because their albums are very similar but different, but they're like I don't think like it's not their best record. I think they are all the records are even at par. It's like how I feel about Maiden and how I feel about a lot of bands. There's so many good albums. I have a hard time picking my favorite, but I picked that one for you because it was the one that Pete recommended to me way back, and also it was my first gateway. And then I took a major deep dive and got it all.
Do you like Ralph the Chris Cornell vocals? Do you like that style?
I do. I'm not like a big Soundgarden fan. I did see him twice back in the day. I seen him open up for Voivod when they were really unknown, and I
Yeah.
always thought he had a really powerful voice. And I like that he has like a kind of a Dio-ish kind of voice.
Hmm.
So I do appreciate it, and I do like certain songs from Soundgarden. I like them, but they're just not a band that I was like a huge fan of. But to me, them and Alice in Chains were definitely like the
Yeah, they
standouts
were
of that.
not. Yeah. So here's something for everybody if you're interested. Because there's been sort of like a theme. The music has been a little dark, spooky, you know. There's a band, they're no longer together as far as I know. This album's from the 90s. The band's name is Somnambulist. And they released what I think is one of the best, atmospheric, heavy prog albums of the 90s. It's called Paranormal Humidor.
Hmm.
And that record is
That's
so
weird.
fucking kick-ass. And it has Chris Cornell's brother, Peter Cornell, singing.
Hmm.
So if you want to hear like really sinewy kind of organ, like evil, nasty organ and guitars, and
I
just
do.
I do
with
too. I'm there for that.
with like a Chris Cornell singing these crazy lyrics on top, that's the record to get. I don't know how easy it is to find. It was released by Laser's Edge way back in the day. Of course, it's all out of print now, but um, I'm sure they have it on YouTube. Check that out. You may really like it.
Okay.
Somnambulist, the Paranormal Humidor.
Okay.
So Lewis, does
wrote
Chris's
it
brother sound a lot like Chris?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And they used to be back when I lived on the East Coast in the early 2000s. There was this yearly prog festival called Nearfest,
Right.
Northeast Art Rock Festival, and Somnambulist was booked to play, and they kept canceling because Peter Cornell was he had issues. I don't want to call him a diva. I don't know the guy, but there were issues, and they never made it, and then they disbanded. But that record though is really incredible. I think some of you guys might dig it. You
I'll
know,
check
I
that
wrote
out.
it
at least
down.
big
I'm gonna
parts
look
of it.
Look
into it.
into it.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna hear that Italian one though. I am
I
really.
think you'll like it. It's
I'm also
I've,
gonna listen to the Arcturus. I'm not familiar with that.
It's so over the top in their vocals.
But-
I don't know. It's very Italian to me. I love it.
super
I mean,
Italian.
Yeah, I love it.
Super Italian.
And to
I mean,
me,
when
You all
they
have
didn't-
to you all have to listen to what I picked for Jamie, because I have a
Yeah.
feeling that Jamie has a new favorite band after this episode.
Is that
And,
true, James?
Is that
And-
true,
and
Jamie?
Karen says that she
Hey.
likes the music dirty. I didn't think you could get any dirtier than this.
Oh,
And
well,
Lewis said something about the music puts you someplace. Where are you when you're listening to the music? So I'd like if Jamie could add where he thinks he is when he's listening to the music.
let me get into this shit.
Get into it.
All right.
He's got the graphics, everybody. He's a pro.
Dig deep.
over there.
I am next, and Ralph said, "I'm going to make your ears bleed." Well,
Nice.
I've seen a lot of intense bands live. I own some intense bands. About 4 or 5 years ago, I was trying to get into deathcore and stuff like that. Brand of Sacrifice I saw twice, and I think they're actually heavier than this band and a little crazier. So I was like, it's interesting, but I kind of drifted away from it. So he says he's going to make my ears bleed, and yeah, they're kind of intense, but it's not crazy. So who are we talking about? Oh, Lord have mercy. Guttalax.
I knew it.
Oh my God.
From
I knew it.
2009, from Czechoslovakia. What do they play? Gore grind with a common theme. We'll get into that in a bit. I didn't even know the common theme when I listened to the album, so we're going to just go with the flow how I learned about what was going on here. The album is called Shit Happens, and there they are in their toxic waste.
The flow. Go with the flow.
July 13th, 2025, so about 10 years ago. All right, so let's just get into the music, because I hit play on YouTube and I didn't see the song titles or anything like that. I saw it was like 30 minutes long, maybe even a little less than 30 minutes. I'm like, yay, at least it's short. So I hit play and I hear the music. Well, it starts off with some sound effects, and then I hear the music. And I'm like, well, the music actually kind of has a groove to it. It's not awful. The guitar and the drums the guitar and the bass kind of mix into one sound. The bass is kind of distorted throughout the album. The music itself is okay. They got some decent riffs here and there. It gets a bit samey. Sometimes I wish the bass would separate a little bit and get a little funky. But it's all kind of this wall of sound thing. And the drummer's doing okay. So there's the music. The vocals, now these are not death growls. These vocals are somewhere between a pig squealing and a DJ doing record scratching. And combine that, and that's the vocals you get. Supposedly there's lyrics to these songs, but when I listen to this album, I hear no words. They're not words. If there's lyrics, he's not saying the lyrics. If you're telling me he's singing words, well, you're basically pretty much shitting on my cone and telling me it's ice cream. All right. So I don't hear the lyrics. I will say, yeah, there's the album cover. Shit happened. I will say I watched them live on some festival on YouTube, and you can understand a little bit more of the lyrics live.
But do you want to understand them?
You want to understand them? No. So you're listening to it. I looked at another album title that they have, and it's called Shit Beast. I'm like, uh-oh, I think I know what's going on here. Shit happens, shit beast. So I hit the little more ... on YouTube to look at the song titles. And some of the song titles, look, I'm just going to get to it. They sing about poop. This band sings about poop. That's their thing. They're like, nobody's out there singing about poop. We're going to be the guys. And that's what they do. So album titles or song titles on this album, Dick Dip. So there you go. This one, look, I'm going to name these song titles because this is what was fucking given to me.
That's what was given to you. You got to say it.
Oh God.
Licking the bottom line of fat old grainy bitch. Fart away, Cock corn. How did you get corn on your cock? Oh, wait a minute. I know. I know. Shit demon. Brother's an ass. Kill them all? No. Shit them all. We're going to shit them all. In dildo pitlick of the brown ring dildo baggins. I don't know.
That sounds like Lord of the Rings there, Nick.
Yeah. The shit rings in the toilet. And then he's videos. One's called Shitbusters. Right? So
call.
the band as the Ghostbusters, but they're Shitbusters, and there's like these shit monsters coming out of the toilet. So they're
shit demons.
Shit demons. Sorry, demons.
Right, Jamie.
Brush, and one guy's got the plunger, and the other got the toilet paper.
Ready to go.
Bullets and
shoot toilet paper at them.
Yeah, killing the shit demons with man. Who are you gonna call? And there's Dire Hero, where it's an animated video where it's a superhero made out of shit saving the day. So that's their thing. I will say at the live, would I go see them live? Do I like this band? Not really. But it's kind of
Think they're shitty.
They're coming to the U.S. They have.
I'm going to see them at Death Fest, Maryland Death Fest.
Well, they have blow up porta potties they throw out into the crowd. Everybody's throwing toilet paper. These guys got to check out any live footage.
Yeah, brushes up in the air, and the one guy's got the plunger up in the air. So it looks like I would sit in the back, be a fly in the wall, and just kind of absorb the whole.
Soak it up, absorb it like the toilet.
Listen to
like toilet paper.
You think their dads were plumbers that worked too much and didn't pay attention to them?
I am going to Death Fest, and people that I'm going with specifically want to see Guttalax, and they're bringing like hazmat suits and all, like they're really down with it. I think they're crazy. I'm not hanging out with them when they do that, but it's a sight.
Well,
Guttalax.
When I first heard the name, I thought that sounds like a laxative, and I thought, well, maybe that's just an accident. No, I think that's what they were.
Oh, you were spot on.
Yeah.
With 2 T's, it's a laxative. Like if you type it in on Amazon, you'll get the laxative. But if you just have 1 T, you can find their great music.
Now, Ryan is going down the Frank Zappa rabbit hole. Am I going down the Guttalax butthole? No, I'm not. Shit Beast or any other album they got. But let's go to the report card, because I did make a report card for this band. Lord have mercy. So, production is kind of shitty. Songwriting, kind of crappy. Musicianship, they do an okay job. The vocals are going to be the thing that turn people off the most, and they might make people run away. So I'm saying the vocals may give people the runs in a way. When the
vocals are perfect for the music. It's like an extra instrument. You got to look at the vocals as another instrument, not as a singer.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's fact.
So, Ralph.
It's true.
Between 1 and a 10, I'm giving it a number 2.
Yeah.
See what you did there.
God. I love it.
On Guttalax, and of course, come to my Let's Get Physical page on Facebook, where we talk about everything physical media. If you got Guttalax a CD or an album, if you want to throw it on there, just don't take a picture of it with you on the toilet or anything like that.
I gotta say one thing about the Guttalax album is so I was working the night shift, and at the end of the night, I want to get in my car and go. All the other workers would all gather in the parking lot and just fucking talk about their night. And I just left this CD in my car for like the entire time I worked at this place. And every time I left, I'd put CD number 3 on, and I'd play this as loud as I could as I'm leaving with the windows down. It'd be freezing out. I'd stop the windows down, and they'd all have to hear me every day when I left. And they thought it was the only CD I owned. I played it every time. As soon as I got around the corner, I'd put something else on, because I just was listening to it every day on my. But it was like the greatest thing to like freak people out with. And if you have somebody in your car you want to get rid of, it's a good one for that too. You can blast that as loud as you can.
Yeah, and when I was watching them live, the lead singer, and they're all in their toxic gear playing and everything.
Hazmat suits.
Yeah. And the singer is actually like shaking his ass to the music, dancing to it. And I'm like, yeah, you can dance to it, I guess. Sure, there is a definite.
It's a concept.
Jamie, I do have to get going. This ran not long, but
Yeah. So,
I got to skedaddle.
all right, Ryan, thanks for coming out, man. I know we went long.
No, it's okay. I had a great time, guys.
All right.
Good one.
Bye, Ryan.
And make sure you check us out on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube all together. All the damn
time.
Notification bell and hit the like button if you like shit and shitty music and stuff like that. We have the Ko-Fi link to give Pete some money, and we have the merch page, and we have the Cameo page where hey, you can do homework with Pete. You can do a homework assignment with Pete. Have a study date. Just but keep the bedroom door open, like Mom says. Just make sure funny stuff happens. So until the next show, for Karen, for Ryan, for Nick, for Rick, for Scott, for Lewis, for Ralph. Until the next show when we have a new crew and new reviews. I am Jamie, and we are out.